Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tipping with the Scales. It's your girl, Tyneeha, and I am running a little solo today. My girl, Shea, is out, so I'm holding it down. She's so busy with work, but I'm going to do the weigh-in today, and I'm sure many of you have heard about Roe versus Wade, that being overturned. So want to spend a little bit of time just weighing in because it definitely impacted my weekend. So I want to share just my feelings and thoughts around it with you. Before I do that, I just want to give my girl Shea a shout out because one thing about Shea is, she's more than just a co-host to me. She is a great friend, and more so I refer to her as my little sister. So there are some times in my life when I had some really hard times, and Shea is just someone who I can talk to, a real confidant. So shout out to you, Shea. I'll be holding us down for the weigh-in, but she will be back for our full episode that will be released this Thursday. So send my girl Shea some love, and let's dig in a little bit on that topic. So for those of you who hopefully unless you live under a rock, you'll know that. So let me just give you a little more familiarity. So Roe versus Wade. About a half a century ago, the Supreme Court ruled abortion a constitutional right, and that was through Roe versus Wade. Now, this past Friday, we found out that constitutional right has been overturned, and now that's going to be really based on the states will be able to make the decision on what women can do with their bodies. So that has definitely disrupted my life, and I can tell you when I found out on Friday, I was extremely upset. Just thinking about all the women and the stories that you've heard and my own personal stories it's difficult. And knowing that we can't make decisions, what we want to do with our bodies, is just ridiculous. And it definitely has impacted me in a negative way. In fact, yesterday I was on a group chain with about 4 of my girlfriends. We were just talking, and I was asking them how they were doing because, Friday was a heavy day and I wanted to do a check-in. And it started just I would say a series of different just messages. And these women in my lives who happen to be very close to, I love them like sisters as well. They were just sharing their own personal stories on things that happened to them and how they were impacted by Roe versus Wade. And, people were just sharing their own stories in terms of what happened and why they potentially had to make that decision to get an abortion. And it's a hard topic. And I know people have their own, I would say, perspective of what's right and what's wrong. But, one thing about Tipping the Scales, which we love, and you hear us talk about it all the time, that this is a platform that we want to use to uplift people and uplift women and be able to really kind of use this as a way to support one another. And this is a time where we have to support one another and kind of hold each other's hands as we get through this tough time. So I can, I was very, I would say, conflicted in terms of, do I really want to share my own personal story? Do I really want to be vulnerable? And I think the best way for us to heal is just to continue to be authentic, continue to be vulnerable, because we may have similar stories. And, what I love about our pod is that we have a great women following. We also have men who listen to us. I think our population is half and half. So just the amount of support that we get from you guys is greatly appreciated. And I think this is a time where we need to hold on and be able to support each other. I've seen myself on LinkedIn a lot, just outrage of just comments on people just being upset and how people are sharing their perspectives, men as well, because they, of course, have women in their lives from significant others to sisters, to mothers, to cousins, to people who they love and close friends. And it made me think about my personal journey. So I think for many of you, that I had my son when I was 19. Definitely was not easy. It was a really tough time, and I had to grow up really quick, and I had to really hunker down and do what it takes to be a mom, because not only was my young life over, in a sense of, when you think about 19 in college, you're having fun, you're having spring break. Like, that was not my life. My life was, okay, I need to get a full-time job. I need to now not go to school full time, but take my time and take one class at a time until I graduate and be a provider and run a household. So my life had got disrupted very early on. And I take myself back to when I was 21 years old. So I was 21, and of course at this time I had a 2-year-old son, and I was in a relationship and unfortunately was pregnant. Now, think about this for a second. So now I'm 21, I have a 2-year-old son. I'm in school part-time. I work in a full-time job, literally living paycheck to paycheck. So when I found out the news that I was pregnant, it was scary. And I was just very disappointed in myself that I let this happen to me. I felt like, again, and I was, of course, not married. And, I share this, and I haven't talked about this since yesterday in my group text with my girlfriends. And at the end of the group text, I was sobbing for quite some time. So I was very conflicted if I wanted to share the story with you guys, but I thought it was important because many of us have been through some tough times. And I think this will just inspire those, especially who was impacted by Friday's news. So going back to what I was mentioning. So I'm 21. I found out I was pregnant, and it was definitely not with the right person. And I made a decision that I was not going to keep the baby. It just wasn't the good time. I was saving up because next stop was for me to move out of the city because I wanted to give Mikkel a different life than I had. I didn't want to raise him in the city of Philadelphia. I wanted to be able to send him to a good school district. So I was moving out of the city I was saving, so that by the time he was in school, I would be able to move to the suburbs and kind of, give him, Tradition East Town was a school district, and it was one of the top school districts in the country. And I wanted to be able to give him a different life. So with all of this that I was dealing with, I made a decision, and that's what I was going to do, and I did it. And it was definitely a very hard decision. When I think about it right now, it puts me in a very vulnerable place because it's just hard when you make a decision like that. But I think it's up to the person and to the individual to make that decision, especially when it's impacting their body. And it's not just your body, it's your spirit, it's your soul, it's everything when you're making that decision. And that's what I decided to do. And it was extremely hard, but it was what was best for me at that time. And it's not something I regret. It was something that needed to happen. And it was hard. And knowing that women will not have the right to choose and have to rely on the states to make decisions for them is just mind-blowing to me, because there's so many different stories of women who had to make that hard call and make that hard decision that was right for them and for their families. And now that's changing, and it's not fair. It feels like we're going back from centuries ago when women didn't have a voice. It feels like that all over again. I was actually on a phone with a friend yesterday. We watched a show called Handmaid's Tale. And for those of you who don't know it, look it up. I'm not going to waste my time talking about the show, but it suppresses women on the show. It's awful. And that's exactly what this feels like. It feels like women we have a muzzle on our mouths. And not only that, we can't make the most important decisions that a woman can make. We lose the right to do that. And I will never forget Friday. It's something that's just been weighing on me ever since. And it has totally just disrupted my world and the world of so many different people. I've just seen such an outpour on LinkedIn on what people are going through. And our next episode, Shea and I are going to really dig into it. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear, how is this impacting you? Where were you when you found out? And how are you dealing with it? So if you can hit us up on social and let us know, we would love to take a deeper dive. And I thank you guys for allowing me to share my story. I asked you to, think about it and try not to come from a judgmental place. And on Tipping the Scales, we like to say this is a judgment-free zone. So this is not a place to judge others. We all had very different walks in life, and it's those walks in life, those paths that put us on the place of where we are today. And no matter what our paths look like, it was our journey, it was our experience, and it was meant for us. It was meant for us to happen. So look, I want to thank you for listening to Tipping in the Scales. Please remember to continue to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and can't wait to dig in a little bit more on our next episode. Thank you for listening. Peace. Have a great day.